Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day and welcome to the delightfully shit world of Thrash and Treasure, the torture chamber musical comedy podcast which tackles common music opinions one dumb Twitter post at a time. And speaking of dumb twit, I'm Aaron, and I'm joined as usual by the man who 9 out of 10 health experts recommend, but if pain persists, please see your doctor. It's Matt the Quizmaster. How's it going?
Hello. Yeah, great. Thank you. Yes, if the pain persists, see your doctor.
Yep, that's it. And all right, so like we did with Spencer and Jonathan, I've just got 5 little questions so our audience can get to know you now in your 3rd or 4th episode.
Excellent. I love that.
All right, so first one, what was your first professional gig?
My first professional gig was performing as a reluctant angel Gabriel in the Butterfingers Angel, which has a very long title. It's the Butterfingers Angel, Mary and Joseph, Herod the Nut, and the Slaughter of 12 Christmas Carols in a Pear Tree. I think it was written by William Gibson, who wrote The Miracle Worker, but I can't remember. It was a 3-person Christmas mini tour in New York City and surrounds when I was 18 years old when I first moved to New York.
And you still remember that title? I don't even remember what I had for breakfast today.
I'm a Cancer. I remember everything. Memory of an elephant.
Who would be in your ultimate VH1 Divas Live lineup?
Wow. Divas Live. Just going to go for it. We're going to put Alanis Morissette in there.
Wow, yeah.
Joni Mitchell, Whitney Houston.
Correct answer.
Correct. Yeah, so Madonna, because she's amazing and she's been around for ever, and I loved her for a long time. And Jennifer Lopez, J-Lo.
Yeah.
How can you go past that?
Okay, so what would be in your ultimate movie marathon? So your 3 movies, and what would be the snacks that you bring?
Ultimate movie marathon. Well, we'll watch The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And our snacks can be peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Look at that. Look what I'm reading at the moment. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. And I'm up to page 34 or something like that. Yeah. I have a lot of opinions. It's like the 10th time I've read it, but I have a lot of opinions. Anyway, sorry.
And so that is a musical. So I'm going to put another musical in there. So I'll put in All That Jazz. And my snacks are going to be psychedelic drugs. No, I'm kidding. Ha ha ha. No, my snacks will be potato chips. Why not? I'm just going to be sitting there going, oh, yeah, I used to be a dancer. I remember what that was like.
Yeah.
But now I sit on the couch and eat potato chips. And my third one, and you're going to be like, say what? But my third one is Light Between Two Oceans, which is an Australian film that has Michael Fassbender and the actress that was in Ex Machina. And I just love it.
Alicia Vikander.
Yeah.
Or Alicia.
Yeah. I can't look away from that film. Yeah. And that's going to be a big tub of ice cream because I always have a good cry when I watch that one.
All right. What have been your top 5 gigs thus far?
My goodness. Top 5 gigs thus far. I was in the final Broadway tour of A Chorus Line before the revival. So I was in the 97-98 US tour of A Chorus Line. So it had been touring consecutively since it finished on Broadway in 1990. So that was definitely a big one. My next one would be being in the original cast of The Producers, Mel Brooks, The Producers here in Australia. There were 2 Americans in it, but we were both living in Australia at the time, and we were both permanent residents in Australia. So that would definitely be it. And that was to get to work with Susan Stroman. I mean, hello. And Mel Brooks, hello. So then we'll move on to television. So I played Captain Cook in a TV series called Captain Cook Obsession and Discovery, which was a tri-production between Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And you can still watch that on TV in Canada, well, on their YouTube channel for the national broadcaster. I'm going to just throw in a random, I did Hello Again by Michael John LaChiusa, which is a beautiful little show. And I love Michael John's music. And so Hello Again was one of my favorite things I've ever done as an actor. And I'm in a film that will be coming out later this year, hopefully across streaming platforms across the world, hopefully. It's called Heart of the Man. And it's an Aussie independent film, and it will definitely be coming out in Australia at the end of the year. And hopefully it's going to make its way across the pond to America and everywhere else in the world.
Finally, what would be in your ultimate rock star rider?
I was thinking about this the other day and I had something really, really good. And now what was it? Oh, crikey. My ultimate rockstar rider, I am going to have champagne on ice served by the band Menudo.
Oh wow, Ricky
It was
Martin and Friends.
a popular band from,
I
back in
know
the day.
I know who
Yes.
Ricky Martin is. Thank you very much. Goodness gracious me, I'm offended that you would even question
Okay, so I'll clarify this rockstar rider. It is going to be nothing but
champagne.
what's the most expensive champagne you can think of? What's the most expensive?
I don't know. I don't drink that.
Dom Perignon champagne on ice served by the members of Menudo in Speedos.
Cool. But you are our quiz master, so here's a trivia question for you.
All right.
Guess what?
What? Tell me what, Aaron?
Oh, you just ruined it. Guess what? Just say what?
What?
Correct, because we have another Aussie diva in our urban display studio today, and after claiming that he wasn't worthy to stand among our illustrious guests, I suggest he sits down because it's time to school a boss on his own career that started like any other, swallowing a drop of Dutch courage with a bunch of rat bags, which helped this skittish scamp to sketch out a series or 3 episodes live from planet Earth with Ben Alton. Oh, you're skitting me. I love that guy. Plus the delightfully shit world of, oh, didn't I do that one? I don't know, but this delicious dude did done a decadent deluge of dramatic, delightful, and deplorable dramatis personae and delivered his dashingly debonair dexterity and a dollop of devilishness by diving into some dreamy Dundee with Mr. Dundee, Denda sexercise with guys and dolls on a Sunday in the park, with George, Penelope, and Spencer. Hey, I know him. Wait, are you trying to poach my co-host? Well, you wouldn't be the first. And that's the thing about today's chosen mensicle. They'd rather maim you, leave you broken, those savages. Dear world, when will a super girly fat pig give me company and sugar? I'm so lonely. So merrily we roll along at midnight, heading north by northwest like a prudent man with an allergy problem and an imprudent many more stage appearances, thus proving that this bubbling Brooks has that certain je ne sais quoi. So je ne sais a huge local g'day and a long time to this affable artiste who isn't a triple threat, he's an octuple threat, highlighting highly regarded skills in acting, singing, dancing, hosting, improv, voice acting, producing, writing, directing, plus he's a total hunk, which by my maths makes him a decouple threat and our very first lobster. So take a minute to help me welcome to the torture chamber this fully conscious decoupling and co-founder of Lab Kelpie, or Depupling. As the lights go down and the big screen comes to life, it's called the magic of this multi-talented country boy who has had a magnormous career on our screens in hit shows such as Blue Healers, Neighbours, Rake, Picnic at Hanging Rock, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, The Leftovers, Tripping Over, and more. So if there are any questions for Ben, wait till the end because there are no winners and losers here, only losers on the mint. So get ace because the sumo mouse has been flea bitten by Peabody and Mr. Sherman, who is the Igeo man, but I am the walrus, Cuckoo Harajuku, and he is the reason for the season, but only because nothing rhymes with episode. Wait, he's the latest victim for the picking, so put your hands together for the scrumdiddlyumptious Mr. Lyall Brooks. Yay! And I'm gonna die again.
I had to mute myself because I was laughing so hard at that.
Oh no!
And I started counting all like the references you made to my CV, and there was like I lost count at about 33.
Ooh. Has any other guest counted?
No, but they quite often don't laugh, and that just hurts my ego because I'm like, please laugh, because I can hear it. I can hear that there is no laughter, and I'm like shaking. Like, is this funny? Is this going well? Is this? Oh my god, what's happening here? And I'm trying to do that while thinking and freaking out. But anyways, I'm glad you liked it.
It was brilliant. I want that to be my Wikipedia entry. Thank you. Cheers.
Yes, awesome. That's new. I haven't had that before. I've been plaqued on people's walls, in people's bios, in their programs, and now I please someone out there put that on Wikipedia.
Put it in the wiki.
Yes, it has been a long time since we saw each other last.
I know.
Just for our listeners at home, Lyall and I had worked on the Magnormous Trivia Nights. Magnormous being Aaron Joyner, who popped up in the Jane Badler episode to surprise Jane.
Oh yeah.
Which totally blew her away because he popped up without his name showing and without his camera on. So she's like, who the hell is this voice suddenly out of nowhere? And I'm just like, guess what, Jane? Perfect. But yes, anyways, you were the host then. Now I'm the host and payback's a bitch. But anyways, okay, this I'll tell the listeners this is very, very embarrassing. Lyall, you probably won't remember it. The second time we did the show together, because I had watched you the first time, and you know, very handsome and very funny, The second time, again, very handsome and very funny. No one told me you're in a relationship, so I innocently went to give you my number. You remember it, do you? Yes.
I do now, yeah.
Yes. And I walked down the stairs, not knowing where I was going. We were at some place. And I walk in there, and Lyall was standing there in his jocks. Nothing else.
Woo! Wow.
And I'm there giving him my number. And I'm like, oh shit, do I go? Do I stay? What do I do? And you're like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And I'm like, here's my number. And I died. I like literally threw myself in front of a tram. So this is my ghost sitting here. I didn't know if I should bring this up, but I thought, why not?
I was hoping you'd tuck it into my panties, but you never did. So
I was going to say, there's no pockets there. You just have to
No.
come up with a way.
Far too shy.
yeah, you can see me now though. You probably dodged a bullet. You don't want to see me in my undies now. It's pretty gross.
Oh,
No, well, you did
No.
do that on television on the Ben Elton show. So
Oh yes, we did.
about 12 people saw it, I believe.
No, thank God. That was 11 too many.
Yeah, anyways, we won't go there because Ben Elton is a legend, and that is a sad time in Australian television because we don't have much in the ways of live sketch TV. Well, we haven't really had it at all, and that was a bold attempt.
It was. An attempt was made. It was of that time when we just weren't going to support it. Because I think there were a few, weren't there? In about 10 years, was Let Loose live, well, obviously live. I think that lasted maybe 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do sketch comedy very well in Australia anymore.
Mm-hmm.
there's a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, saw Ginny Gay on something.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. I mean, we deserve to have it. I love it.
Yeah. And think of how popular like Fast Forward was, and then Full Frontal. I know it's a bit before your time, Matt, which is funny because you are older than me. But in terms of living in the country,
Yes, I know them. I know them.
That's all right then.
And we can't forget Comedy Inc., which I made a guest appearance on the same, with Octavia Barron Martin and a bunch of other music theater people. We're on the same episode.
No way.
And Katrina, of course, Katrina
Oh,
Retallick. So,
mm.
yeah.
And I was on the Eric show. Remember Eric Banner had one season of a sketch show he did?
Yeah.
I was in that when I was 13 years old. It was 1998. And there was like a whole big parade thing in a street. We like had the camera on us, so we had to be like, go Eric and stuff. And then they cut out the sketch and just had snippets of it in the end credits. So technically it counts. That is on my resume and on my IMDb. And you want to fight me on it, bitches, I will take you on. That is Eric Banner, for crying out loud. But anyways, we'll move on. Are you excited that the footy is starting back up? Every time you do a show, I see you in a bloody footy shirt, it seems.
I know. God, I don't remember what the first one was, but I'm always given roles that are not me. I've done Neighbours twice now, and one of them was
a footy coach.
Yeah, as an AFL coach.
Yeah,
I remember walking into the writers' room. I think I had to go there for wardrobe fitting or something at Vermont, wherever it's filmed. And I walked into the writers' room and said, "Hi, I've been cast as a footy coach. Please do not make me do anything football related. Don't throw a ball at me. Don't make me kick anything. Give me a clipboard, and I'll walk around shouting at people." So that's what they did.
Yeah,
that's all I had to do in the end.
Yeah.
And then the second time I went back, they cast me as a hot air balloon operator because AFL coach wasn't quite out of my reach.
Oh, well, that's on your skill set.
So lucky they were cancelled because I don't know what would be next.
Yeah. Oh, no, they're coming back.
Oh, they are too.
Which I think is good.
Yeah.
I think we need it. I think we need a stable, long-running drama show in Melbourne. It's not Home and Away in Sydney.
It's the soap opera we deserve.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know it's like, it's not the best or anything like that. And if you ask me, we should bring Breakers back from like 98, 99.
I'll stop it.
I love that show. Or Passions. NBC, bring back Passions.
I used to watch that.
How good was Passions? Was brilliant.
Yeah, well, you know, they're all something to keep your mind busy or dull for a little amount of time.
Oh, it was perfect trash, wasn't it?
That's it. But anyways, speaking of bogans, we're going to move on to the medal. Lyall, if you could pick your ultimate rock star rider, what would you put in there? Like crazy over the top.
Oh, look, I'm not very rock star. I'd probably just be happy with a bag of Sandboys and a Pepsi.
No.
No, not good enough.
I put my foot down. Every time people said water, bottled water. I'm like, nah, man, I'm so over the water. I want crazy. I want like.
It's still not crazy and it's still no rock star, but how about a bottle of Cointreau? Is it okay?
What about a big oversized glass of it with big swirly straws?
Oh, no, let me finish. I meant a bottle of Cointreau in a bouncy castle.
There we go.
Yeah, with a bunch of Manpower models in mankinis oiled up, bouncing around. Is that rockstar enough?
Yes.
Thanks, Matt.
I like that.
It's slightly enticing. Anyways, we'll move on. Have you had much experience with metal? Heavy metal, glam metal, thrash metal, death metal?
I haven't. I've got a pretty eclectic taste, but I don't really follow anything too hard. Like, you know, when Spotify or Apple Music gives you those recommended playlists and they try and put together a playlist of all the things you like, mine are just so confused. There's white noise, rain, and there's music theatre, and there's a bit of spoken word. There might be a bit of Aussie hip hop in there. It's just all over the place, and I can't listen to it because I can't listen to a list of music that's like that. But I have been known to duck into certain things, less so metal though. I will say I'm not a big metalhead at all.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I got excited there when you said rain, because I have like a 6-hour playlist of just thunderstorms and rains and stuff that just plays when I sleep.
Yeah, I can't sleep in silence anymore.
Either that or birds.
Oh, birds. No, I don't like birds. They're too distracting for me. I can't sleep.
Oh, you live in the country.
I know. Yeah, I hear them all day.
Yeah, oh goodness me. But anyways, we'll move on because this week I chose a band that we've already done. I thought we'll cover it again. Manowar, which is I was so straight up. I picked this because I wanted to pick a metal album that was more gay than the three of us combined. We'll find out if I manage to succeed. But anyways, now Matt, you go first because you reviewed it this week.
I am so glad that you said that about a metal album that's gayer than the three of us, because let me tell you, I mean, just from the cover album, the cover art of the album enticed me immediately. If you haven't seen the cover art, it is a shirtless man who's quite ripped in leather pants, holding a ring above his head and a sword from sort of a provocative sort of position. This is the whole thing about me and growing up in the 80s in heavy metal and WWE and not quite realizing I was gay until I finished high school. These sorts of images like haunt my head. I'm like, this is so exciting, so enticing. I don't like the music, but I like these images. So that was my first sort of feeling was, wow, what is this magical realm of metal? And then, of course, I had to poll all of my friends and say, do you know Manowar? Have you heard of them? And nobody really had, which is interesting because by 1988, when Kings of Metal came out, they had already recorded 6 albums.
Mm-hmm.
So then I had to do some research myself. And of course, like I grew up in Massachusetts and then I was in New York, you know, and these all seem to be a bunch of New York guys who still trying to tell if they were taking the piss or if they are absolutely serious with their music. And you will find that out when you get to track number 4, which is Sting of the Bumblebee, which is Flight of the Bumblebee, expertly played on the guitar. So I go into the things sort of with my musical theater head on. And the very first track starts with the revving of a motorcycle. And there's like a click. And I was like, oh, click. And I thought, oh, it's like an old time movie reel. They're going to start this old movie. And then I said, no, this is actually a hyper-masculine celebration of manhood and motorcycles.
It's Manowar.
It is, yeah, it's a very masculine sort of album. But again, so Wheels of Fire, and I don't know if I've ever heard it before. I mean, 1988, I grew up, you know, I was in high school in the 80s. There was lots of heavy metal and thrash rock going around my high school, so I must have known it. And actually, once I started hearing it, I thought, I think I do recognize this song. And the shredding vocals. And I was banging my head by the second song. But then I went to the bathroom and came back and was like, wait a minute, am I listening to the same album? Because by the time we get to our third song, we have absolutely shifted gears. And so this is a bit confusing for me. And it happened a couple of times during this album, which then made me think it's sort of like they were on their 6th album and maybe they were like, you know, there are 0 F's giving. I'm just going to throw everything at the wall and see which spaghetti sticks. So sorry, Manowar, if you felt that you had a through line for this album, because for me, I was terribly confused about halfway through. Although, again, as everyone knows, I'm a big fan of diction, and the great diction was there in Heart of Steel, Stand and Fight.
I knew you were going to comment on that. I knew it. I said to myself, Matt is going to comment on this diction after the last episode. Yeah, go.
I was so happy as a teacher. And of course, you can sing along and stand and fight. So Heart of Steel, you know, even though I felt like I was very confused and I had started listening to another album, then it sort of came back in. Of course, I've already talked about our Sting of the Butterfly and Ross the Boss Friedman. I mean, come on. The picking on the guitar, unbelievable. Apparently, he left the band after this album and went back to the punk band, the Predators, I think, if I've got that that right, which was interesting. But again, the lead singer, who's Eric Adams, who was named after his children's names, Eric and Adam, that's his stage name. He says that a lot of the musicians have come back and played on the album since then. Which brings us to the point that, did you know that this album was redone about 20 years later? They sort of redid this album as well.
No, I didn't know that.
Yes, they did. They did, because when you get further into the album, the next to last track is like this grandfather telling a story to his child. So again, I'm like, what is going on here? This is when the album becomes like Lord of the Rings meets Dungeons and Dragons meets The Never-Ending Story, or perhaps The Princess Bride.
Yes.
But when they went back and re-recorded it, so it was just this random guy from the Birmingham Men's Choir who called himself Arthur, like King Arthur, I can't, Pendergrass or whatever, and then his actual name. But then Brian Blessed actually re-recorded it when they went back and revisited this album afterwards. So again, this has led me to understand that Manowar, even though this album for me, there was one song that sounded a bit like Flash Gordon. I was like, oh, they're borrowing from Queen. Oh, are they having a go at Meatloaf? I'm not really sure what's going on here. But they do have an absolute fan base across the world, particularly in Germany, as it tends to be sometimes with hard rock. And so I was really enjoying it. However, there is a song called Pleasure Slave.
Yes.
This starts like Love to Love You Baby by Donna Summer with the and again, maybe a little bit of Meatloaf, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. So there's like orgasmic sort of thing. And I guess maybe the song is about BDSM, so perhaps it's not misogynistic, but with lyrics like "Woman, be my slave, that's your reason to live," I was a little bit conflicted by this point of the album. So therefore, even though I enjoyed those rock vocals, and apparently Eric can sing up to 30 seconds with that high scream, which he copied in live performance, which he says that was influenced by Deep Purple. But because of this sort of hypermasculinity of this, it's kind of really camp, actually. And then I'm not quite sure if it's misogynistic, but I would have to give it a 2 out of 5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, I didn't see that one coming. All right.
Yeah, no, neither did I.
Yes, I enjoyed it. But again, there's no bangers. There's head bangers, but there's no bangers that stick out for me. I couldn't tell you, if someone had played the song, I wouldn't have immediately been like, oh, yeah, I remember that one. So, I liked it, and I do like metal, and I love being challenged to listen to metal through this program. But I don't know. I was a little bit like, I'm feeling uncomfortable now. And so I'm giving it 2 out of 5. For the content, for the musicality, much higher.
Okay, well, just on Pleasure Slave, it wasn't written for today's audience. And even being written when it was, I'm pretty certain it's a character from hundreds of years ago. Like, I think that's the vibe. That's what I got from it anyways, that it wasn't necessarily an 80s guy picking up a woman on the street. It was, a guy in a medieval village or something like that, or a castle, or I don't know. That's the vibe I got from it. You said magical realm. That's totally where I was this whole album, and I was there for it all the way. It was just so gay. I was there.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, sort of, me and sort of trying to match my morals with what I listen to.
Yeah, no, I get
and
that.
I understand. It's play and it's a game. Like I said, it's BDSM. I'm sex positive, so I'm all for it if it's role play.
Yeah.
But in the end, I was like, oh, I don't know if I would really want my daughter to be listening to this.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky you weren't listening to it on surround sound very loudly like I do with these albums. Just quickly before we get on to your thoughts, Lyall, I just want to throw in there that I actually loved the setup of the titles, because we went Wheels of Fire, Kings of Metal, Heart of Steel, but then things got a bit sticky in the Kingdom of Come. Anyway.
Stop. Dad, is that you? Oh, sorry, Aaron, it's just you.
Sorry. I've been planning that joke the whole time. Anyways, okay, so Lyall, what did you think of this album?
Come at me.
I didn't write a big essay, but look, I agree. Like, technically, I think it's a really wonderful album, and I didn't expect to like it. I thought, what are they going to throw at me? What shit are they going to make me listen to? But this was, just really amazing. And I've got to say, I love an album, that concept of a full album that's, from which individual singles can be sort of separated, but which on a whole
Yeah.
can feel like it's a package all of its own. And so I loved how each track sort of segued into the next beautifully, whether that was through the tempo or the sound or the theme or even just sometimes like a deliberate break or silence. It felt like a real journey that it was taking you on. Technically just beautiful. I thought it was really clear, well mixed, well mastered album. I agree. I love diction that doesn't sound too dictiony, especially the metal album. I wouldn't have expected to understand as much as I did. I just thought it was just beautifully wrought, like I felt like there was just this room full of really great fucking musicians crafting deliberately this beautiful work. And it wasn't just guitar, bass, drums, vocals, keyboard. It was like, oh, let's bring in some church bells. Why the hell not?
Yeah.
They experimented with all these different sounds and instruments, but it never felt like they were just throwing shit at a wall. It felt like they'd thrown the shit at the wall, and these were the turds they scraped off. And that's a terrible analogy because it's making it sound terrible, but it's not. It's for coming from that sort of music theatre background more, I went, you know what? This could be a music theatre album in some ways, a bit thrashy.
That's what I got. Yeah.
But yeah, some of the songs are just so well done. And yeah, and it also made me think of other songs and artists, but it never felt derivative. I didn't know. I didn't do any research on the album itself, but knowing that it was, what did you say, 1988?
I think so, yeah.
Makes a lot more sense now. Yeah. I didn't need bangers necessarily. I really appreciated it for what it was. There's always even the most perfect album, I reckon, always has a song you could probably cut if you had to. And I think you're right. I think Pleasure Slave is up there. It's problematic nowadays, but I gave it some room.
Although, as sort of, like teenage boy sitting in my room, I'm listening to it. My adrenaline would have been rushing from the first two songs, and then I would have calmed down. And then by the time I would have got to that, I would have been slightly turned on.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think where it is on the album, even if you hadn't heard these guys before or weren't a fan, even for a teenage boy, with his fantasy album, I think by the time you get there, it kind of feels more in context to the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it kind of almost feels consensual, even if the lyrics are a bit know your place. It never felt misogynistic for me, or, it pushed pretty hard.
Yeah.
There's none of that, be my bitch or anything. You know what it made me think of was that film Secretary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
James Spader and Maggie Gyllenhaal. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a bit of a leap I had to make in my mind to go, oh no, she's already consented to this, and this is the song that happens after. So maybe I'm just being naive. But again, if it was a lesser quality music, you might not forgive it. You might think, oh, this is just a guy getting his misogynistic fantasies out. But it felt like, everything else in the album especially felt quite deliberate and well crafted, that I gave this one a pass, but not everyone has to.
Yeah.
They're certainly having fun. I mean, throughout the whole thing, they're talking about wearing jeans and leather, not crackerjack clothes, which of course I had to look that up and be like, I don't really understand what that means. I don't know if you have any opinions on that. That's in the second one, Keys of Metal. We wear jeans and leather, not crackerjack clothes. I've heard that as a reference to disco,
Okay.
the colors of disco being like the colors on a crackerjack box. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of play in this. There's characterization, again, it sounds like there's sort of a bunch of family men that just really rock out when they go into their professional lives. So they put on those characters and have a good time.
Yeah. And I agree with what I thought I might have been the only one picking this up, but obviously we all did. Just this idea of it is so mask.
Yeah.
And before we get cancelled, masculinity, femininity, entire construct, so whatever. But yeah, the way it starts with the engine noises and stuff, and all the themes, it's about battle cries and power and all this sort of stuff.
The warrior.
Yeah, that's the warrior. And the album cover itself, all these world flags that he's standing on with lightning, coming down. Oh, it's hilarious. It got me thinking about that whole, when things are so masculine that they just become kind of ironic and camp.
Parody.
Yeah, that's right. And especially when something is made so well, you think, oh yeah, these guys, they know what they're doing. And now that they know the sort of the 80s that it was made, it's like, oh, that's, the logical end point of that extension of, something so mask it's camp is, hair metal or glam metal or whatever.
Right. I guess it was sort of the Twisted Sister and some of those other sort of highly theatrical metal bands in the 80s, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it got me thinking of the idea of the horseshoe that people talk about in politics, how the far right and the far left are actually quite close, if they're on either end of that horseshoe idea. It got me thinking about, is there something similar with masculinity and femininity? By the time it gets to the very ends of the horseshoe, are they pretty close together, to be honest? You see, especially with hair metal and stuff, these guys are running around with massive hair and skin tight lycra the things and poncing around the stage. And these guys are getting a lot of puss. They're not doing it because they're queer. They're doing it as a pickup thing. Which then made me think of it's like the Animal Kingdom. They're peacocks. They're those, funny little birds from Papua New Guinea who dance around, and the camper they are, the more likely they are to breed. So yeah, I sort of went down this rabbit hole of thinking about that sort of thing, and it made me delighted, I'll be honest with you.
Oh, cool. I like that. Now all their album covers are very similar themed in terms of shirtless men, cod pieces, Spartans, and warriors and stuff like that. And there is not a single big boobied lady on any of them,
Yeah, good point.
which would be a big signaling factor in misogyny, I
Yeah.
think, when it comes to exploiting women.
Yes.
They're very much exploiting men on their covers. Very much so with a lot of these pictures. Like the first one we did was picked because of the cod pieces they were wearing in it. And I'm like, oh, geez, thanks, guys. Fuck you too. Anyways, but
The bassist, who's the composer, is also the creator of the cover art, I believe.
oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, look, I loved it. I thought it was ballsy, like to go from, as we say, a rocking album to then stand and fight, like this real daggy, throw your fists in the air, let's jump on a horse and ride off in the sunset with our long Fabio hair glowing. You know, that sort of imagery.
Yeah, a Vikings on the way to Valhalla.
Yeah,
Yeah, with like the big male choruses too, like almost that Gregorian sound,
yeah.
which is a very Pet Shop Boys in a way too.
But then to go into a whole spoken word,
Right?
that takes a lot of balls because you're making this album for people who like to stand there and go like this. And that's not a settled thing to do. Listening to a story is a settled thing to do. You do that at the theater. At a rock show, you headbang and you're moving around and bumping into each other and stuff like that. So to take down the pace so remarkably to the point of talking like that takes a hell of a lot of balls, I think. I gave it 4 stars, so I kind of really dug this because it was so cheesy and cheeky and, as we say, masculine. And yeah, there is sort of that flavor of toxic masculinity in it, but I also saw it as acidic because it was cheeky. I didn't see it as toxic being so hateful or domineering or anything because it's so daggy and so gay and camp that it balances itself out and creates an acidic, glittery feel more than making me feel sleazy or sleazed on.
I get that.
My lower score also just reflects that there's no Sweet Child of Mine, or there's no song that is for the ages that can be that the single. There's no single that's for the ages. Maybe the whole album is for the ages, but
good point. You know what you made me think of then, Aaron, was I went to the AC/DC concert a couple of years ago with my dad, and the whole thing of, and just talking about the buxom women on the covers of albums. That's their whole thing too. They had this inflatable woman with big knockers, and the cameras would be trying to find women in the crowd who would then have to flash their boobs. And I could just imagine if that sort of thing, they tried to do that at a Manowar concert, these guys would go, oh, stop. No. We don't do that here. Please respect women.
Yeah, they'd be showing the man. That's what they'd be doing. They'd be exploiting the men.
Right. Showing the pecs. That's it. Show us your pecs.
And then they'd be jumping, and then those men would go and jump up and down on the bouncy castle in your Rockstar Rider.
Yeah, Thank you. Oh, and I agree. I'd give it 4 out of 5 too. I'll give it 4 stars. Yeah.
And just to throw, before you say that, I'm going to throw in there. And while they're bouncing on the castle, I'm going to go home alone because I'm single. Anyways.
Oh, they had lots of violins on the album. Maybe you could borrow a few of those for your sad story.
I know, tiny violins.
So we're sticking to that score, Lyall. Your score?
Yeah, I would also give it 4 stars. Yeah. 3.5, and I'm rounding up.
Oh, wow. Well, it looks like Man Hour is up. Oh, and we're going to go to an ad break. G'day, listeners. Aaron here. We thought we'd better send a spy to Broadway to check out the shows for us. So here for today's review is our Broadway spy, Spencer.
This week, we're talking about Some Like It Hot. Some Like It Hot is a musical based off of the film, with music by Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman, and a book by Matthew Lopez and Amber Ruffin. If you want to see a big Broadway classic musical, this is the one. With direction and choreography by the wonderful Casey Nicholaw, there's nothing like a Casey Nicholaw tap number. Some of the greatest scene direction that I've ever seen on Broadway. There's this really, really cool chase scene in the second act. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen on a Broadway stage. This show is big and Broadway and brassy and jazzy, with performances by Christian Borle, J. Harrison Ghee, Adriana Hicks, and Kevin Del Aguila as the lead roles. They are just having the time of their lives in this show. Is this show for tourists or purists? I think this is a show for tourists. It is a wonderfully fun show, but that's just it. It is fun. It is dance. It is big. It is brassy. and it is hot. So go see Some Like It Hot at the Schubert Theater.
All right, we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Matt, and we are joined by incomparable star of Aussie stage and screen, Lyall Brooks, who will be soon coming up. I know he's denying that. Soon coming up in a leading role in a major Australian premiere at the Comedy Theatre. Not at Chapel of Chapel, Lyall. You're not at Gasworks this time, mate. You're at the Comedy Theatre in a big major premiere. I said to you, I picked you to come on this show because you've earned it.
Oh,
And looking at your career, like I'm flabbergasted. So I'm so proud watching you blossom over the years, even though we barely know each other. I did see you in your Jocks when I gave you my number. So
that's lovely. I'm waiting for the sting.
oh no, there's
Oh,
no.
thanks.
I'm not that mean. Goodness gracious.
You
man.
are, and you know you are. And so I'm waiting for it. When is this turn?
Well, I do have more questions about Midnight coming up. Before we move on, can you just tell our listeners a little bit about Lab Kelpie, which I mentioned in your introduction?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, sure. So it's not musical. It's a theatre company I started about 10 years ago with my partner, and it's focused on new Australian writing, whatever that looks like. So we sort of support playwrights to, develop their work, to stage it, to tour it, to publish it. So we've got a little publishing arm as well. And I also do a bit of school connection work as well. So when we go on tour, we can sort of take the shows, themes, whatever, sort of interact with the community and schools. I don't think Australian playwrights get much love in Australia, and we tend to see them having to go overseas to get that love. Yeah, and I mean, by extension, as you know, it's even worse for music theatre. It's so much harder for, music theatre writers to get what they need because the resources are so much more. So that's sort of what I was attempting to address when we started the company.
And if I'm not wrong, isn't one of them about AFL or the footy?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. One of the we toured it last year. Become the One was a like a hypothetical, closeted footballer story that sort of looked at more about, what does the partner think? We know there must be some gay footballers out there. Come on, but what goes on, behind closed doors there? So I was sort of looking at that and why they don't maybe come out. But yeah, more footy. I don't know.
There you go. Lab Kelpie is obviously comes from puppies. Yay.
Yay.
Usually I use an oversized mug, but I use my Labrador mug today.
Oh, look at
Oh,
that.
I love it. Thank you. Oh, bless. When we go on tour, you can always tell who the dog people are. Some people say, oh, that's like Lab Kelpie Laboratory or something. It's experimental work.
Yeah.
And then you get the people who know and they say, oh, do you have a Lab Kelpie? They're the best dogs. You can stay. You're our friend.
Yeah.
I learned something new just then. I was in the experimental, laboratory phase, but now I know.
Oh, I've just outed you. You're still my friend, though.
Oh, thanks, man. Lyall, how do you find the plays that you do for Lab Kelpie?
We're not prolific by any stretch, but often playwrights will come to us. And yeah, that really the short answer. And depending how much we have on and what we can do.
Yes, so if you build it, they will come.
Well, that's the idea, yeah.
In terms of Australian work, it feels like our industry is putting ourselves second.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
And it feels like that's putting us second to international.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, which I think is sad, especially with musical theatre. The question here was, do you feel this can be the case or this is the case? You've just answered it for me. So
I think it always has felt that way. And you two are probably actually more into this, can speak better to this than I can, but it has felt like that for a long time. But I feel like specifically the last couple of years, because there was that RISE funding from the government and they tended to fund, big commercial ventures that just overseas works. And so it does feel like there's a lot of commercial stuff coming out right now that isn't homegrown. Midnight is an exception. But yeah, you're right. There are so many other little projects happening that could be big. I went and saw Bearded at Frankston a couple of weeks ago, which was like Nick Waxman was sort of leading that. I think he co-wrote that. Brilliant young cast, great modern queer themes, young characters. And the audience was like on their feet. I'm not the sort of audience member to get on my feet in a show. I hate that Mamma Mia shit. But I was. Next minute, I'm there. I'm standing up. I'm having a bit of a dance, clapping along, thinking, Brooks, what happened to you? It was just that sort of show, And so we are capable of writing some amazing, amazing stuff. Just the resources aren't here, and we don't have the right funding models, I think, to support it. But that's a whole other combo. But yeah, in essence, I agree.
yeah. Well, there was one of the major opera companies 2 years in a row have had 0 Australian works. That's just sad. It really is. We've
Mhm.
only listened to one Australian musical so far on this show, which was, I can't remember what it was called. It was a Nick and Wright musical about the preachers. What's that?
Miracle City.
Miracle City.
Yep.
I didn't really care for it. Do you think maybe it's because Oz musicals or Australian musicals, we need to find our own identifiable, unique sound that we just haven't found yet? You look at Broadway musicals, right? You can tell a Broadway musical. You can tell a Western musical.
Can you? Broadway and West End? Can you these days tell what's what?
Oh, I can.
Well, Broadway, you can.
I can.
Definitely. There's a certain vibe to it, I guess, or a certain sound to it.
Yeah.
If it's a jukebox musical, it's going to be a West End musical, and Juliet, We Will Rock You, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, true.
But there is a different sense of humor. Although I was, speaking of Australian musicals, Fangirls. Have you listened to Fangirls by Eve Blake? I've been introducing that to my students up here in Mackay at the conservatorium, and they love Six and they love all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, well, if you love Six, then you should probably be listening to Fangirls, which is a sort of modern show, and Eve's done a great job. And they had a great Australian cast. There's a cast recording. I think Sharon Millichip's on it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, so that's one. That's one that I'm going to really champion for.
Yeah. I'm not saying that they're not good, because some of them have been great. I'm just saying when you lump them all together, there's no identifiable sound that you say that's an Australian musical. You look at an Australian film, you know you're watching an Australian film. Look at Legally Blonde. That is a Hollywood film, but that is an Australian movie. That is an Australian comedy because it's got that vibe, that feeling, that voice. Robert Licker, because it's got an Australian director, he brought that Australian comedy to it. Cinema, you can see it. Australian TV, I don't know, it's a bit Americanized these days, but you used to know it was an Australian show. Australian musicals, I don't think we're there. Australian rock, you know, an Australian rock when it's on.
I was going to say, I've never really thought about the this whole idea of the Australian identity in theatre or in music theatre. I don't know. Part of me wants to argue, why would you want to?
Yeah, I get that.
Wouldn't you want stuff that is transferable? But I think maybe you're right. Maybe it's a case of, are we trying too hard to be like other shows and haven't found our own voice? And maybe that's when we will fit in better to sort of the international canon of music theatre, when we sort of go, not, it's not flag waving stylistically or anything. It's just what do we do? What is our Muriel's Wedding, the film version of a music theatre piece that we make here?
Muriel's Wedding, the musical?
Yeah. Had ABBA songs in it. And the Australiana that we got from it was the over-the-top accents.
Yeah.
There wasn't, in the original songs, that some of them were really great. Again, there's just, you don't listen to that and go straight away, this is an Australian musical. You just know that it's based on an Australian film and it's set in Australia because you hear the accents. But then all of a sudden ABBA's playing.
What about something like Ladies in Black? I mean, same creative team. Well, in terms of Simon, anyway.
I haven't heard it.
Okay.
Haven't heard it.
I mean, that was all original songs.
Eureka was trying to be Les Mis.
I saw Eureka.
Yeah.
And was it not trying to be Les Mis?
Yes, it was. It was. Although I can still sing one of the songs, but I've sang it in concert, so I've cheated. I've cheated.
I think Fangirls is a really good example of great Australian music theatre, and I sat in the audience to that, and it was on a school matinee as well. So it was just, I don't know, 500 school kids losing their shit at this show. It was amazing. But I mean, that itself went through just years and years of development. If you listen to Eve's interviews and things, and it had the support of Australian Theatre for Young People from very early on. So it had some sort of money, or some institutional money behind it for a long time. Yeah, I don't want to say they got lucky, because there's no such thing. They made their own luck, but they certainly had a really good pathway to where it is now. And it's a shame those pathways don't exist for our other composers and music theatre writers.
I don't know. I don't get it.
He's got heavy.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks, Aaron.
That's all right.
Man.
Well, you're the one that started it with your mentioning this stuff before, and I just happened to have follow-up questions written without knowing, didn't I? Goodness me. We'll move on. We'll move on to the musical, because we're going to do one that you actually got nominated for a Green Room Award, which is the Victorian version of the Tonys.
Professional theatre, across dance and circus and music theatre, main stage, etc. Yeah.
So state awards. Yeah, and you had done this 20 years ago.
Long time. I've seen some things, man.
Okay, so I've reviewed the musical this time because I didn't know it, which is nothing new on this show, apparently. So I'm going to read my review. When I first saw the cover, I thought I was looking in a mirror. Oh, wait, that was Man Hour. Wrong page. When I first saw the cover, I realized I've been wearing ties wrong my whole life. So I pressed play and was greeted by a lively small band of maybe 3 or 4 musicians playing a little introductory beat as we meet the characters, including Tom, who appears to be a philanthropist, constantly giving to other people, giving his wife a positive outlook on life and of her husband. Then we meet Daryl, who is also there. And as the music tells us, he's also a wonderful man. So is that the thing about men? That they're wonderful? Okay. Anyways, the tight-knit group of 4 to 5 performers work tightly together with each other, with each of these whimsical and often catchy songs, which are no doubt popular on the cabaret scene, where shows as small as this are able to find an audience in a pool of mega hits, jukeboxes, and movies turned musicals and plays. But here is another show full of gems that allows for intimate, personal, comedic, and romantic opportunities to knock their performance out of the park without resorting to tricks, bells, or whistles. A simple story and songs to allow a performer to shine. Unlike last week's musical, which I kind of feel could have been a bigger show than what it ultimately is, this one sits nicely in its place, which is the thing about many smaller musicals. Some feel wasted by being too small. Others, like this, sit nicely. Keep in mind, I have no idea what's going on, but that's the thing about Men. They'll leave you confused and blindsided. 1 star to Men. But as for this show, I definitely put it in the category of a performer show, a simple canvas that allows a performer to shine. And you'd want to cast the very best, because that's the thing about mini shows. They do leave room for less than stellar performances to stick out in the wrong way. 3.5 stars. And I really loved because I thought that was a really great song for a female in a show that's really about men, where the men, well, I would say shine, but, you know, they're not painted in the best way. And just, if anything, I thought it could have quirked up a little bit. Because I think little shows, they need to have that extra bit of quirk. So that's where it lost a couple of points, because I thought it wasn't quite as funny as what I would have liked it to have been. But that might be in the performance. I don't know. I have no idea about it. There was no synopsis on Wikipedia, so I don't know what's going on in this show at all.
Yeah, I got a little bit lost while I was listening to this as well, because, you know, they're roommates, and then all of a sudden the ex-wife is coming to the apartment, and then I don't really know what happened. I was like, what? So anyway, so hopefully, Lyall, you can fill us in some of the bits that we just couldn't quite work out from listening to this cast recording.
I can do my best. Yeah, it is very difficult because there's not much information out there. If you're just listening to the soundtrack, you wouldn't have a fucking clue what's going on.
Just to throw it, I think that's odd, because this is the type of show and the times of story-driven songs that make an album like this really easy to listen to. So this kind of did let itself down in that respect by not being as clear. You'd expect that from, you know, Hello Dolly or, you know, the Pajama Game, older shows where the songs would expand on an idea, an emotion, or a moment. They weren't to drive the story. This felt like it was supposed to drive the story, but didn't quite. So anyway, sorry, I just wanted to throw that in there.
I agree. And it's funny that you say that, though, because I mean, some of the songs they're just narrative vehicles. They're not stop and sing what I just said, but some of them are let's do a scene in there, let's do a song that says the exact same thing as the scene just did. But yeah, most of them, especially the very beginning, it's the opening song. It drives the story and introduces us to the action of the play. But yeah, if you do pick it up and just listen to the soundtrack, you're probably a bit confused. And I mean, of its time, it was pretty great, but does it compare to, you know, the really smart humor now that we have on stage, like in Book of Mormon, for example? No, it doesn't. It can't. I mean, I was really excited to do this piece because I don't know whether you remember I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change was.
Oh, thank you.
I said Now Change. Which again, of its time, out of its time, it was really great, really funny, and this is very similar. It's even got one of the same cast members in it. But yeah, it certainly doesn't stand up as an absolute laugh riot. I find it really hard listening to this again to separate my experience working on the play at the time with you know just what is it as a work. I mean, look, honestly, I would give 2.5 stars for the work, you know, as it is now, listening to it in 2023. But if you ask me at the time, or ask me even now what my experience was, I'd go 6 stars. You know, it was just such a joy to work on. and such a joy to play all those characters. I really loved it.
Were you the Irish priest?
Yeah, so there's three main characters. There's the philandering husband, there's his wife, and then
Oh,
there's
philandering.
yeah, philanthroping. I think you said.
Oh, that changes the whole story for me.
He's not a philanthropist. He's a philanderer.
Now I know what's going on.
He's giving something, but it's not money.
Oh, shit. My bad.
And then her lover, who he moves in with to try and break them up. So that's the whole premise. And it's based on an old German film, I think.
Yes.
The German film Men.
Dory
Oh, I
something.
wouldn't have a clue.
Or is that the director? No, it's Men by a director named Dory Dorrit or something like that. I did look it up.
What a great name, Dory Dorrit.
I think that's her name. If not, I apologize to Dory Dorrit, whoever you are. Anyway.
You to get the listeners on their toes. Google it.
That's it. Yes.
Google it, mate. And then there's two other actors, male and female performer, who sort of play. They call it the Greek chorus, I think. So just every single other little character that might come into their orbit, with even if it's for a one line or a few bars of a song. There's even a few songs in there, like the Irish priest. That's all he does. He comes in, does that little scene, and goes off.
That's a great song. That's a great song. I'm going to steal that and sing it in every audition now. It's basically just a confession. He's like, "What did you do? Okay, we'll do all this. Oh God, I need a drink."
Yeah, Jesus Christ. And there's another song of the female Greek chorus, "How I Have Your Heart." She's literally a jukebox. There's a jukebox playing in a dive bar, and so the other actor comes in and sings that, either dressed up as a jukebox, or we had Nicolette Minster, covered in these LPs.
There are some really good individual songs, but I think it's a matter of that the pieces don't make the whole, or what's that expression? The sum isn't greater.
The sum isn't greater. What is it? The whole isn't greater than the sum of its parts.
That thing, yeah, which is a shame, I think, because Joe DiPietro is massively talented. He's done quite a lot in Memphis, obviously. Did I win the Tony? I don't know. We had James Monroe Iglehart on the show a couple of weeks ago. Oh, I think it might have won. Yeah, it did. I don't know. I would look it up, but I'm lazy.
Listeners, look it up.
Yep.
Come at us on Twitter.
Listeners, look it up and tell us on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll ADR it into the episode. No, I won't. Yeah. No, there are some great individual songs, and perfect for cabaret because they can be very character driven, and I think they would be funnier in that setting than what I found them to be here, if you will. And audition songs as well. Some great audition songs, which I found from the Fantastics as well.
The Fantastics. Excellent.
That's what I do.
Hey, Lyall, who else was in the cast with you? Any other well-known musical theatre?
Yeah, Nicolette Minster was my sort of other Greek chorus person. She was amazing. Laura Fitzpatrick was the wife. Chris Parker was the husband. I can't remember the character names anymore. And Liam, what's his name? I feel really bad that I can't remember his name because he was absolutely phenomenal as the lover.
Hang on, let's look it up. We can find it on Ozstage.
Sophie Thomas was the musical director. I can't remember if she was nominated for that or for a previous Magnanimous show. And Cameron Thomas, no relation, was her offsider. So I think it's written for, and you can hear it on the recording, like you said, like a really small handful of musos. I think there was just keyboard, 2 strings and reeds, I think is in the original recording. And so we just had 2 pianos. So Sophie's amazing. She reorchestrated for 2 pianos. And then and then I had to play sax in one song as well as the other characters. Was I good? No.
Oh, you're a saxophonist as well. You're what's an 11? That's an undecouple. It's an undecouple. I did look it up. It's an undecouple.
I wouldn't call it a skill. No, I wouldn't call it a threat or a skill. I sort of honked my way through one of the best songs too. So I'm sorry if I ruined it for everybody listening.
And is that something that you learned specifically for the show, or is that something in your bag of tricks?
Well, no, it's a very small leaking bag of tricks. I learned it for a couple of years. And then, but I mean, I'm not a great musician by any stretch. So for this, and I think it was written for, say, a tenor sax, and I play alto, so I had to retranspose it for alto. I wasn't great anyway, and then the song itself has 3 key changes in it. It killed my head. But we got through it, honked our way through it,
and you got nominated for it,
and we got nommed. But I feel kind of crappy about it because, as I said, Nicolette and I worked really well together as a pair, as this Greek chorus, and she didn't get a nom, and I was kind of shitty about it actually.
Yeah.
Because, we relied so much on each other, and it just felt strange to be highlighted above everyone else.
I'm sorry to rub it in. If I'd known that, I wouldn't have. I've just sent you both a link to the Ozstage, which will have all the credits on there. And shout out, of course, to Aaron Joyner, who was the producer of that production.
Yes.
Are Magnanimous still doing shows now?
No, I've been on Aaron's back.
Yeah.
I think he's happily moved on.
I invited him onto this show deliberately just to get on his back and say, "Can you get back into fucking theatre for me?" Not for me, but
Yeah, they
for
wrapped
him.
up about 10 years ago, didn't they? It's a real shame, but I understand why. Now that I'm running my own company, I look back at Aaron and Magnum and think, yep, I get it, babes. I get why.
That's it.
Liam Peterson was the other actor I couldn't think of. Peterson, thank you. Because I have to admit, when I listen back to it now, I go, oh, I'd never paid much attention to that song because I was changing or doing upstaging jokes. I love the ballad that the female has, Because was really lovely.
Yeah, I think that's the big one, the one where she sort of is like, oh well, yes, I cheated on you, but you cheated on me, and so it's a good storytelling song.
I love him because he's not you.
Yeah, and on this recording, we have Mark Kudish and Jennifer Simard and some like really classic. Again, I was in New York in the '80s, so like these are like some classic people. So I was instantly delighted to hear the quality of the voices on that recording as well.
Well, you can imagine Laura Fitzpatrick just tore that song a new arsehole because she's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she is.
My favorite song was always the You Will Never Get Into This Restaurant, which sort of goes into the restaurant scene in that song as well. So I had to play this, little French puff at the door of the restaurant and then go into, oh, hello, I'm a server, Lance. And it was just like a real fun transition and two fun scenes to play. I'd disappear behind the table and come back up again with the next prop, bit of prop comedy. It was very fun.
Magic.
As I said in your introduction, it's called The Magic of This Multi-Talented Artist. Or whatever I said, I don't know. I wasn't reading it then. It was by memory.
I don't know.
Now, I did notice there was one song called Me Too, which made me laugh every time it came on. I don't know why. Probably because what the show is about. I did know, for those at home, he was a philanderer, not a philanthropist. It was an attempt at a joke, which that's why it made me laugh, because I knew it was about, guys cheating and hero. It's about men, full stop. And there's a song called Me Too. And I thought that's very ahead of its time.
Nothing to do with the Me Too movement at all.
Nothing at all, but it was there. You gotta
love a musical where in the first song, someone discovers a hickey on somebody else's neck. That's.
Now I would love to see this, but it would ultimately depend on who is in the cast, because I wouldn't want a second-rate cast. I would want the best of the best.
Yeah, I think you would find now you put it on, even though it's a bit dated, you would get some incredible people wanting to be in it. I don't think you'd have any trouble casting this.
Yeah. I mean, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head, but
biggest and the best.
Yeah. But you're right, it's a small show. You couldn't put this on in a big theatre. This is a real sort of little chamber piece.
And Off-Broadway.
It is, it won an award, didn't it, when it first premiered Off-Broadway, I think. Yeah. And I don't know what you'd do with it these days. There's a few little problematic bits to this musical if you did it again today.
But I'm sorry. I'm against this whole writing book for the time.
No, I'm not saying rewrite it. I'm just saying you need to be aware. I had to play, a Mexican cab driver and, an Asian delivery driver. It's a bit...
The sushi bits, yes.
Yeah, okay.
All for one little joke, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That I understand. But that's not rewriting. That's in casting. That's not the show itself, I don't think.
Yeah, or just not leaning into what now sort of would be approaching yellowface. You just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. And I say that as someone who was in an all-white production of The King and I when I was like 11 years old, and so were you, apparently.
As the famous song goes, me too.
Yes, me too. Me too. Back in the 90s, maybe.
Yes. Anyways, we'll move on because looks like the thing about men is that they're shit. So we're going to go to an ad break. How very feminist of me. G'day, listeners. Aaron here. While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistantales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. After barely 3 hours of light sleep, Toniston Turnbull slowly opens his eyes, his body feeling heavier than it ever has before. Not from extra weight, from tiredness and stress. Polly sighs in the shadows behind him, the flame of the nearest barbed wire tiki torch tower having died down, but not out, while Toniston napped. "Are you awake?" Toniston whispers. "Oh, how can I sleep in this place?" Polly moans, turning onto her side and facing Toniston, who stays on his back, imagining obscure animal-esque shapes in the rusted tin roof above them, shadows faintly formed by the nearest dying torches. "We need to work out a way to get out of here," Toniston states the obvious. He whispers, despite the fact the nearest shacks to their own are several meters away, and the occupants presumably asleep, as most prisoners seem to be. "How? There's no fence to squeeze through, or even climb," Polly replies, sitting up in bed and then stretching out her sore arms. The hairs stand on end from the slight chill in the air. "I don't know, but I think the whole fighting thing is a distraction." "You mean to distract the other prisoners when new ones arrive?" "No, I think that was just bad timing. Didn't you notice?" Toniston goes on to explain his theory. "That fight happened, everybody gathered around. I didn't see one person who wasn't watching, and then when I vomited, the only gate in this place closed shut." "What are you trying to say?" "I think something happened when everyone's back was turned." "Like what?" whispers Polly, her voice breaking up in fear. "I don't know. That's what we've got to find out." Toniston's brain starts working overtime. "But it's strange that nobody seems to want to leave. They seem almost happy. Definitely content. So, when's the next one of those stupid beatdowns?" Toniston can't help but think Polly looks tough, almost evil in the shadows as she asks. "I don't know," Toniston begins. But both teenagers are distracted by a crumbling noise in the distance. Hopping out of bed, Toniston joins Polly on her own, equally uncomfortable one, spotting a large, white package hovering close to the cave ceiling, behind it a shadowy figure. The package is lowered down, causing the teenagers themselves to lower as well, hoping not to be spotted by whom or what may be operating this obscure crane. Over a long, slow descent, the package is dropped to the ground. Polly keeps her eyes on it, but Toniston looks up immediately, spotting a large black shadow scurry away to God only knows where. "Come," he whispers, as he quietly hops off her bed, slipping into his docks with bare feet. Polly follows his lead. Careful to keep watch on all directions, the teenagers swiftly sneak over to the white package, their hearts beating an almost tribal jam in perfect harmony, and stopping in their tracks as the sudden realization of what lies before them sinks in. A woman, seemingly in her early 20s, wrapped up in bandages from the neck down. No, not bandages. "Is that spiderweb?" Polly asks, completely mortified at the prospect. Grab your copy of The Toniston Tales from thetonistonTales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! Anyways, we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron. That's Matt.
Hello.
And we are joined by the magical Lyall Brooks. Now, just got a few questions on your hopes and dreams for the future. Now, if you could name a theatre after any Aussie performer, who would it be and why is it Aaron Joyner?
He'd be on the short list for sure. Is this like a music theatre, or is it just a?
Any?
Oh God, I don't know. Well, I mean, most of them do. I feel like there's a long list that would all suit having a theatre. I don't know. Maybe it's because I listened to his episode last week, but I'd go Bert Labonte. You know, the Bert Labonte Theatre.
Yes.
Ooh, the Labonte Theatre. That's a great one.
Right?
It
Yeah.
sounds great. Yeah. Bert, we're fans.
Yes, Bert, please come back on our show because I loved having you on the first time.
Yeah, there's some certain names in music theater or in theater, you know, like that lend themselves. I mean, Bert Labonte Theatre is great. Bert Newton Theatre, I'm not so sure of the Newton Theatre.
No, thanks.
I mean, he's very worthy, but it doesn't have the same je ne sais quoi.
The Ernie Dingo Playhouse.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, that could be good.
Yes,
that could be good. I'd like that.
As I keep saying.
I would be very surprised if there wasn't an Uncle Jack Theatre coming up somewhere soon.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
Jack Charles something. Yeah, if you're talking about someone who deserves to have a theatre named after them.
Yeah.
Now, okay, a more fun question now. What was the naughtiest you were as a pre-teen? Not a teenager onwards, because obviously we're dealing with the law there, but a pre-teen, you were totally innocent.
God, I don't know. He should have given me a heads up for this. I don't remember. I've got such a bad memory, even for things that happened last week, let alone when I was a kid. I remember. I don't think I was a preteen, but I was pretty young. My brother and I used to take our dad's work car from the SEC. We lived down in Latrobe Valley. We used to take it out in the paddock, and my brother would give me driving lessons well before I needed driving lessons or could even get a license. But yeah, we used to do that when he was away, not at work. And I remember we knew he was coming home once, and we were just hosing off all the cow shit from the side of this car when he came in the driveway, and he said, "Oh, boys, thanks for cleaning my car for me. Good on you. Let's get pizza for tea." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, thanks, Dad. Yeah, we did it out of the kindness of our hearts."
You little shits. You got rewarded for that. God.
No, there was a lot of shit. On the contrary.
Yeah.
Naughty.
Now, what scares you the most creatively? Clearly, it's not being in your jocks on national TV because been there, done that.
Been there, done that. In a bikini.
Yep.
Music theatre.
Really?
Hands down. Yep. I'm absolutely petrified at this gig coming up. Especially now, I haven't sung for a long time, and I feel just sort of physically not even like not match fit, but just a bit like my health is going to let me down. So I'm shit scared. But I always have been. I'm not a singer. I have terrible pitch. That's why I try and do a lot of Sondheim, because it's more acty. Even the melody follows a sort of natural emotional path for me. But yeah, music theatre.
But you're also an artist, and every artist is unsure about themselves and unsatisfied and all that jazz. So that's part and parcel with it, I think.
Yeah, but other things I would just jump in. If it was a straight play, I'd jump right in there. Anything else, I would absolutely jump in. Just music theatre. And I think that's why I stopped doing it. When I was young, I really wanted to be in music theatre. Like that was my dream. And then I sort of started getting into it a bit more as an adult. And it's just hard work, man. Like for those kids, let's just call them kids because they're amazing and have the energy of it. It's such an amazing skill set to maintain. I'm lazy, man. I don't have the constitution to keep up all the dancing lessons and singing lessons and what's required of, these sort of modern musicals. It's exceptional. The vocal quality and the fact that these new musicals, the stars have to, the chorus has to, everyone has to, sing like a superstar, dance like you're on Strictly Ballroom, and act, and have some great characters and things. And these, I'm going to call them kids again. These kids have it in spades, and I think that's amazing. I'm just not that anymore. Unfortunately, I think it's a real special gift, and I wish we'd paid, performers commensurate to their incredible skill.
Yes, paying actors more and getting more recordings from Australian casts would be great.
Yes, please.
Yes.
But yeah, anyways, I haven't actually seen you perform other than hosting and TV work.
Oh, thank God for that.
Well, I'll be the judge of that. Thank you very much. When I get a ticket to opening night.
Is there a lot of dancing up your sleeve in midnight? Do you know?
I don't know yet. I was part of their development about a year ago. I think we just got cut off by lockdown, so whenever that was, 2020. And none of the characters I was performing in that are the ones that they've given me this time. So I'm a little bit worried. And from memory, the characters they've given me this time they're quite high singers, man. And that's not in me. But Spencer and the team seemed to be fine with that and said, no, you're right, mate. You'll be fine.
You'll find it. You'll find it.
We'll see. It's a great team though. So, if I'm going to go in and fail in front of any team, I couldn't have picked a nicer bunch of people.
Isn't Kate Miller-Heidke?
Yeah, she's contributed to it. John Foreman, Anthony Costanza are the two composers. They're both absolutely hands down brilliant composers, and very different. And you can always tell when you're singing an Anthony song or a John song, but they work so well together as a piece in this show.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
love John Foreman.
Mm.
Isn't he like 45? Like he is still so young, and he looks the same that he looked 30 friggin' years ago when he was on the Burt Newton show.
He's got big twink energy.
Yeah. Maybe we should cut that out. I don't know about that. Maybe.
I'm sure he'd love that.
Yeah, but there is either a photo or a video of you online on the Burt Newton show in the funniest costume, which I will ask about. What's the worst costume you have been forced to wear so far?
I feel like you want me to say the gold bikini from Ben Elton, but I don't know. That was pretty fun.
You loved it. You loved that one.
It's never, because I've done a lot of shit work. Like my first performing gigs were with Disney, in suit work, dancing on an outdoor stage in Singapore wearing a goofy suit. So I've had some pretty tough costumes to wear. But you know what it is? It's the costumes that are meant to fit well, but just don't. So it doesn't have to be necessarily, dressed as a female wrestler or whatever it was, or, a big novelty costume. Just stuff that should be fine, everyday wear, that just doesn't fit. And it's going to split if you try and, oh my God, there's the answer, actually. So
here we go.
So I've worked on a couple of cruise ships, and I worked on a P&O one. It was myself and Christy Whelan were the lead vocalists. Hilarious.
Ooh.
Our opening a number, like we had like a welcome aboard show. We had to wear these, whatever material it was unbreathable, white like cargo pants that were just slightly too short, and a skin tight lycra top. And I wasn't as fat as I am now, but still, it just made no one looked good in it. No one felt good in it. There was one night where Christy took the night off. She was feeling really sick, but she still came and saw this welcome aboard show. And because I didn't have to split center that night, and it was a Ricky Martin song, I was just throwing it up. I was doing high kicks. I was pretending I was Ricky. It was so fun. Except these pants weren't made for that, for my high kicks. And so I split the dax, and I'm not saying like a little hole in my bum, but like from pube to coccyx, absolutely ripped these pants apart, absolutely straight up the gusset when I was doing my Ricky Martin number. And I still had like 3 minutes of song to go, and just stood together, my hands with my feet together, and did a lot of gesticulation with my arms, thinking, don't look at my balls that are possibly hanging out, because all I had was a danceable underneath.
Now I know what she bangs means, as in she bangs back and forth against your legs.
She wangs. Except it wasn't She Bangs. The song was called We Cruise, to the tune of She Bangs, because cruise ships are tacky like that.
We cruise. Dun, dun,
Exactly
dun.
that, Matt.
Awesome.
My favorite lyrics were we rock as we dock, and we dock when we rock.
What?
Saucy. Very saucy.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. I do actually love cruising though, but you're right. The shows on there are pretty like, I know the performers are doing their best, but it's the material they're given is not always the best.
Leave a bit of your dignity.
Yeah.
I had to dress up like a leprechaun, for our around the world show when I was on a cruise ship, and that's one of the costumes I've always been like, what?
Oh, wonderful. I think mine would have to be my first one, because we were dressed up as cats doing skimble shanks in our review. And I talked about it. Actually, I cut it out of last week's episode. We started off in the audience and it was awful. And I'm just
Traumatizing.
never lived to death. I'm traumatized. You thought the Cats movie was bad, people. You did not say this in 1995. Anyways, next question. We're going to move on very quickly. That one. There's a lot of talk about gays playing gay and straights playing straight. Where do you stand on this issue? For me personally, growing up, I always wanted to play the Phantom, but I'd have people say to me, but you're too gay to play the Phantom, or you're too girly to play the Phantom. You could never do that. But that's not, you're not sort of thinking, oh, the Phantom's straight, so it has to be played by a straight person. I wanted to play that character to inhabit that. So where do you stand? Because you've played a lot of roles that aren't you, very much so in real life.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's a big thing in theatre or music theatre as much as it was, and none of it now, so as much as it was a couple of years ago, more on film.
Yeah.
And I think it really just comes back to that old, is this person taking this role, taking that opportunity away from someone who is not just better suited, but maybe has a lived experience and hasn't had the opportunity to portray themselves. I think in theatre it happens, but there's less concern about gay people playing straight and straight people playing gay, because you know what? There's enough gays in the theatre world.
We own the theatre, kids.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not exactly a minority in the theatre. In fact,
No.
I can't even claim being queer as any sort of, funding leverage now when I'm applying for things. It's just like, yeah, you poofs are a dime a dozen. You're fired. You don't need anything.
You need me. I've got the disabled tag as well to go with the gay tag. Yeah.
Which is where it is now. It's like what happened at Malthouse a couple of years ago, when, not the musical, when they did the Elephant Man play.
Mm-hmm.
And who was cast originally, and they pulled out to say, no, I don't have this lived experience. I will not play this character. And so they ended up giving it to a disabled actor. I wish I could remember everyone's names, but I can't.
Like, you're an actor. You signed up to play parts that aren't you. I don't get it myself, but
yeah, that's the other side of the argument, I guess. But
yeah.
When it comes to historically underrepresented people, then I absolutely understand you got to make way for those people, because this guy isn't about to do a big high kick number in a music theatre show because they can't, no matter how well trained they might be in these other areas. So why should they see an able-bodied actor take away a part that they would really suit and can speak to it from the inside?
Yeah, look, I get that, and the lived experience thing, I think personally is a tiny bit overrated when you're talking about a show that may last 3 weeks. Like, it's not definitive.
Yeah,
there's going to be another show and another show and thousands more shows over a certain amount of time. There are plenty of theaters out there, kids. Like, if I'm ever to get a biopic made of my life, I want to be able to pick the person that I feel inhabits my spirit, not has lived my life. Does that make sense? And that's why I think this does need discussing, not just yelling. And that's what we get at the moment, is yelling. We get, oh my God, you cast this person, you should have cast this other person, or someone with the lived experience. That doesn't make them a better actor, though. At the end of the day, we need to trust artists. We need to trust the directors and the writers who have a vision for what they're saying. And when they have a vision for a person in a role, we should trust that a little bit more. There are times, yes, I agree, casting, a white person in an Asian character. Maybe let's not do that. But we're not necessarily talking about painting our faces here a rainbow color to play a gay character. So it does trigger me a little bit, because I think of that little boy that I was being told, you will never play the Phantom. You couldn't play the Phantom. You shouldn't play the Phantom. That's what we're saying to people now. You can't play this character because you're this thing. I think it's the antithesis of art. But this is my opinion. This is your interview. Oh, shut up.
Well, no, I think that's a really good opinion. And it sort of demonstrates, doesn't it, that there's no group, any particular group, that is has homogeny in their thinking. Within that group, within differently able group people, there's going to be this difference of opinion. And people saying, yeah, we should get all those roles because the character's disabled. And people saying, no, if they portray it well, then fine. The last show 2 shows ago that I directed, this is back to the sort of queer theme though, is, it's 2 gay guys. The AFL show. The characters are both gay, but in the first season, I'm not even asking actors when they come in what their sexual orientation is. If you can portray that character on page, put it on stage for me, then great. And I sort of might find out during this. So we ended up having like two straight, or 1 straight and 1 question mark. But again, I don't care, because there was, it's a gay writer, gay director, gay creative team, half gay creative team. So I sort of felt like that's enough. There's enough voices in the room that can speak to the themes of this work. It's not just a bunch of footy players going, oh, I don't know. How does this guy? Is it like picking up chicks or what? You've got, cut that out. That was terrible.
No, you're gonna leave it in because it was embarrassing.
You've got that lived experience in the room, that representation of that voice. If that's in the room, then I think you're right. You don't necessarily need to cast exactly like their characters, but you need to have that the voices and the the consultancy stage, which I hate that word, but
we have at the moment an overabundance of information on people, right? And so it's given everyone a right to know what's people's personal thing. And I think when someone walks into your audition room, what their personal life is not your business. It's not my business. It's not the audience's business at all. But what we're doing is we're putting actors in a position now, if they see a role that they really want to take on, if they're not openly gay, they then feel like they have to come out of the closet in order to qualify for that role. Fuck off. Why are you pushing people out of the closet over what is essentially just a play or a musical or something that's not definitive? It's going to be gone in a month or 2 months or a couple of years, however long it lasts. Like, I just think it's not fair on artists, because, there is art and there is entertainment here. It's all art. It is only entertainment because we're entertained by it. If we're not there to be entertained by it, it is still art. I'm pro artist. But yeah, so Matt, what's your opinion on this before I get too passionate?
Yeah, no, I've been being very quiet, as you've noticed. Again, I feel like my voice has been in this discussion for a long time, and that I'm sort of stepping aside and giving other people voices. Although I can say, as a queer actor, when I did a show called Smiley, which was then made, by Guillaume Clua, we did an English adaptation of it, and then it was it's a Netflix series if you haven't seen it yet. And it was really a pleasure to have 2 gay actors and a gay director working on it. There were just 3 of us on the creative team, and I'm not counting the stage manager and everybody else who were not from the queer community, but were very much allies. But there was a freedom of just being able to explore all of those things without having to be ashamed of saying, because it was a very sex positive show as well, without having to try to explain to somebody from outside of the community, oh, well, with Grindr, this happens and all that sort of stuff. So, so I did find a lot of comfort in that. So, yeah, from my own experience.
No, trust me, straight men know what is going on Grindr and Scruff.
I think you might be. I think you might be right. Yeah. So I do find comfort when I'm in that situation. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
But if you go for a role that's a straight married man and you get told no because you're gay, I think that's an affront to you as an artist, personally. So
I rarely get told no. People don't.
Oh, look at us, aren't we all high and mighty?
Well, no, I mean, people don't perceive me. I don't fit like people's easy stereotype of what a gay man is, and a lot of that does have to do with my lived experience. I'm married. I've been with my partner for 23 years. We've adopted and raised 2 kids. So so a lot of my lived experience is paralleled to a lot of straight men of my age.
Yep.
And so it's not a huge stretch for me to try to imagine what that is.
Yeah.
But then I always slightly queer all of those parts. So maybe he has a secret. Maybe he's going on Grindr in the evenings.
Oh, that was you the other night. Oh. No, I'm kidding. I wasn't on Grindr the other night. Trust me, not doing this fucking show. God, I don't have time for it. But anyways, we'll move on from the seriousness. When was the last time you rolled down a hill?
Deliberately or for fun? Probably 4 years ago. So not a child.
Yeah, I know. I did it about 4 years ago, 2019 in New Zealand. Ouch. It hurt. It really, really hurt.
Yeah.
It was just me rolling down and go, ow, ow, ow. It was just my spine, mostly. Like, that's what it was. And then, like, everything in my pockets. But yeah.
My sciatica, oi.
Exactly. Let's relive my youth for a few seconds, and then it's just like, no, you're an old fat pog. Just stop trying to do this. Just take the stairs like everyone else.
Yeah. But it was fun when I wasn't hurting. So for that, like, half a second, it took me to get over to the other side. Yeah.
So every sort of 355 degrees was hilarious and fun.
Yes. Oh, it was and then ouch. Ouch. Yeah, and my best friends like laughing their heads off at me and like, why are you doing it, you fucking idiot? And I'm like, because it's fouch.
Ouch.
Anyways, what's your worst earworm song that gets stuck in your head? Oh, I'm supposed to ask this first, so it gets stuck in all our heads throughout the episode.
The worst, I don't know. Anything by Taylor Swift. I'm sorry, it's contentious, but I can't stand her.
Yeah, we should have been ranting this morning. She's boring. Anyways.
Don't go after Tay.
Yeah, I'm cutting that out from me because I'm not having people come after me. They can go after Lyall for saying that.
You bitch.
They just got to hear me say that. Mind you, they're going to know I said something.
I want not the director's cut. I want the guest cut of this podcast release, please.
All right, I'll leave it in there. Fine.
How about this one? Wheels of Fire. It's a good earworm.
See, no, I think it's maybe why I liked it.
I thought you were singing "Rolling Down the Road." Na, 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 next of
Rolling
kin.
down the. Oh,
This
goodness.
will shall explode. What's that? Absolutely fabulous.
The Ab Fab. The Ab Fab theme.
Yes. Anyways, I don't know why the Ab Fab song came to my head then. That's just what I heard when I heard Wheels on Fire. Now, Matt, have you got any questions?
Oh, goodness. I'm never prepared for this. Never.
Yes, you're in show business, kid. That's the fast pace. You're going to do it. Come on. We're live.
All right. Who are you going for in Eurovision this year?
Oh, yes, because it is coming up. Australia.
No one ever goes for Australia. I don't know.
Metal band this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Voyager. Come on.
Yes.
I hold my judgment until I see the semi-finals.
Yeah, true.
I don't really follow it until then. It's funny. Yeah, I like to make a bit of a thing, a bit of a weekend of it, but don't sort of follow it before then. I think we're going to go away this year. Adam and I were talking about like finding a B&B somewhere just to stay and watch Eurovision, like a bit of a weekend away. I don't know whether they're going to get dressed up or not, but I love the idea. There's something kind of tacky about Eurovision, something a bit cheesy that I like leaning into. But also when you're doing that, you listen to these artists and you think, actually, most of you are pretty fucking amazing.
There have been some success stories that have come out of Eurovision in the past.
Oh yeah, but even when they don't, you think, oh yeah, you incredible artistry.
Yeah, no, I love it. I like, well, with all the shows I watch, I like, cook a meal or whatnot. I literally don't watch something unless I've got a meal to go with it because I feel like I'm wasting a meal. Or if I watch a show without a meal, I'm wasting a show. Like, it's the stupidest thing. I need a boyfriend, clearly. But for Eurovision, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm cooking a steak or roast chicken pieces and chips and stuff like that, or fried chicken or pizza or something like really extravagant. Anyways, you have been an amazing guest. Thank you so much. It's taken a while to get you on here. I know you were hesitant. For the people at home, he fought me on this for months. He was terrified.
Wouldn't say fight.
Absolutely terrified, but I kept saying to him, it's just like bottoming for the first time. Just relax. And it goes in easily.
Oh dear. We're definitely keeping that in.
Oh, you're right. I mean, today, yeah, no, all the bloods really helped lube me up today. So thank you.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say something really gross, so you had to cut this section.
Yes, no, I'll leave it. I embarrass myself all the time on this show. Yeah. So, anyways, where can people find you on the social medias?
At Lyall Brooks.
Yeah.
All lowercase one word. On everything, I think, or at Lab Kelpie is the company. We probably do a lot more on Lab Kelpie than I do. Oh my God, you just reminded me. I need to update my website, which still probably has a little landing page that says under construction from 2017. So time to update that.
Yep.
You can find me.
Yep. And people will find you at midnight. So just quickly on that, it's a sort of a Cinderella story that you've never heard before type thing, I believe.
It's a re-look at it. I mean, there's not going to be anything that makes you drop your popcorn in terms of new interpretations, but it's just
You're selling a show, Lyall.
Yeah, start over.
It is going to be something that's going to make you look twice and drop your popcorn.
I don't want to say turn up and it's set in the Russian Revolution or something. It's not. It's the fairy tale, but it's sassy. It's new. It's just really well. It's really well constructed. But it's a lot of fun and it's very family friendly. Yeah, it's beautiful music. It can be beautiful costumes. I'm not sure how they're going to make the magic effects work, but that's not my problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a really, really fun, lovely show to bring everyone to.
What's going to happen is Cinderella's going to duck behind a table and then she's going to pop up as a totally different character. That's the magic of the theatre.
Wow, how did they do that? Oh my God. I am shit scared. It was the worst audition I've ever done in my life, to be honest with you.
And you still got the part.
Well, I think because I know them and I did the development. But yeah, it was terrible. And I almost didn't go. I put up on the side of the highway and said, I can't. I'm too anxious. I can't do this. Sorry. And then pulled my shit together in sort of 20 minutes and went in.
I think that before every one of these recordings.
Do you?
And I hear Alison Fraser's voice in my head singing, "Don't be disgusting, be yourself." That is literally before I sit down the last thing I hear, which is funny because she was our first guest, but that's from In Trousers. Because I don't want to fuck this up. My sense of humor is sassy and I'm going to be throwing things in. What if I say the wrong thing? Comedy doesn't always land, but no, I get it. I get it because you're a performer and you're an artist.
Yeah, you want to control what goes out there. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, but you want to give your best. You want to do your best every time. And that's just, we're all vulnerable. The only people who aren't vulnerable are these TikTokers that turn on the camera and go, oh, this is my opinion and give me fucking 1 million followers.
Tell us how you really feel about TikTok.
Oh, God, I rant about it on this show a lot. I'm going to get sued by them, no doubt. And you're playing the villain, I believe, or a villainous character.
A villainous character, I think. Again, I'm not sure what they've given me. But yeah, that is, one of the antagonists anyway. And I'm covering a few others. I think it's one of those double tracks where I play the baddie here and the friendly one in the second half or something.
Oh, the fairy godmother.
Oh, I hope so. Babes.
Yes, with a corset, give you an hourglass silhouette.
Oh, yeah, I'll be cinched for days, don't worry.
Big train and the dress. Oh, I can't wait.
That's just me turning up to the theatre.
Oh, awesome.
Getting through the stage door.
Pics or it doesn't happen. Anyways. So if you're in Melbourne, what's the website? Look below for the details. I think it's midnightmusical.com.au, I believe.
So, yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, and that's premiering in
end of June. I think we open around the 21st time-ish with previews and opening. And it only runs for about a month and a bit. So it's sort of a short pilot run, I think, this time, just to see what the response is. And they'll bring it back again another time.
Awesome. Yeah, so if you're in Melbourne, go get tickets to that, and you can find Matt and his podcast at The Story Chunder and at Matt Young Actor on Twitter and Instagram. Find us at Thrash and Treasure or at Thrash and Treasure Podcast, or if you're stupid enough than me, at As Aware. Don't know why you'd want to. And also, while we're on Cinderella, a huge chookers and lots of love to David Zippel for opening night, which is in a few hours of this episode dropping. Very excited. Awesome to see you back on Broadway. And please hurry up and bring it to Melbourne. But if you're in New York, check below for the ticket details. There's going to be lots of details, lots of ticket stuff, 2 Cinderellas. So I'll make sure it's all labelled very clearly. Anyways, buy the Tonniston Tales, read the Tonniston Tales. Let me know how shit they were, because, you know, I wrote them. Please just buy them. It will help our show stay on air, because it is very costly to run. But anyways, that's it from us. You take care, and we shall see you next time.
Yay!
Hooroo! Awesome.
Thanks.
Well done.
Power off.
Sorry, that was my speaker.